Chad Duell breaks his silence, a quiet goodbye, or the start of something new. For months, fans of General Hospital felt something was missing. Michael Corinthos may have returned to Port Charles, but for many viewers, the absence of Chad Duell lingered like an unanswered question. His departure came quietly, without scandal or spectacle, yet the silence that followed spoke louder than any dramatic exit. Until now. When Chad Duell stepped away from General Hospital, he didn't flood social media with explanations. He didn't hint at behind-the-scenes tension. He didn't tease future projects. He simply disappeared. For a fan base accustomed to constant updates, interviews, and appearances, the quiet was unsettling. Rumors filled the void. Some believed he was done with acting. Others suspected personal reasons. A few held on to hope that his exit was only temporary. As months passed, that hope began to fade. Then, unexpectedly, Chad returned, not to the screen, but to the conversation. His first post of the new year wasn't dramatic. No flashy announcement, no cryptic tease, just a photo. Chad stood outdoors, dressed casually, wearing a black cowboy hat, relaxed and grounded. The caption was short, but it hit hard. Been off the socials for a while. Always good to take a break from all the noise. Hope everyone had a great holiday season. Happy New Year. Next one's gonna be a good one. That was it. And somehow, it was everything. Within minutes, comments poured in. Fans didn't just see a photo, they saw a statement. A man who had stepped back not because he was lost, but because he was recalibrating. To many, the message felt intentional, not an ending, a pause. Some noticed how calm he looked. Others pointed out how confident, how grounded. There was no sadness in the image, no regret, just quiet certainty. And fans began to wonder, was Chad Duell finally ready to talk without actually saying much at all? Just weeks earlier, Chad had teased an interview appearance, reflecting on his journey through television, from early Disney roles to his long run as Michael Corinthos. Those close to the situation say the conversation wasn't about leaving General Hospital, but about growth, about what it means to spend over a decade in one role, about how success can sometimes narrow your path instead of expanding it, about choosing timing over fear. For fans, this reframed everything. Maybe Chad didn't leave because he had to. Maybe he left because he was ready. Michael Corinthos is a legacy character. Viewers watched him grow up, struggle, fail, and evolve. Chad Duell became synonymous with that journey. So when another actor stepped into the role, even talented and capable, fans felt divided. Not because the portrayal was wrong, but because the story felt incomplete. Chad's recent reappearance reignited that feeling. People didn't just miss the character, they missed the connection. What stood out most to fans wasn't what Chad said, it was what he didn't. He didn't complain, he didn't tease drama, he didn't promise anything. Instead, he looked like someone enjoying life outside the spotlight. And strangely, that made fans respect him even more. Many commented that seeing him happy mattered more than seeing him on screen. Others admitted they'd wait, however long it took, if he chose to return. Not desperation, loyalty. Behind the scenes, chatter began to circulate. Casting conversations, script meetings, quiet inquiries. Nothing confirmed, nothing denied. But insiders suggest Chad's name never truly left the conversation. His absence wasn't viewed as a door slammed shut, just one left ajar. And in television, that matters. Here's the twist no one expected. What if the update wasn't about General Hospital at all? What if it was about redefining success? Chad's message didn't say, "I'm coming back." It didn't say, "I'm done." It said, "I stepped away. I needed space, and I'm good." In a world where celebrities are expected to constantly perform, that honesty landed harder than any big announcement. Some fans are convinced a return is coming. Others believe Chad has moved on and support him fully. But one thing is undeniable. People are listening again. His silence created mystery. His return created momentum. And whether that leads back to Port Charles or somewhere entirely new,
What did Chad Duell really say? He said enough. Enough to remind fans he's still here. Enough to show he's at peace. Enough to suggest the next chapter is unfolding, on his terms. And sometimes the most powerful comeback is simply being seen again. Chad Duell didn't expect his quiet New Year post to explode, but within hours, entertainment blogs picked it up. Fan accounts dissected every word, every shadow in the photo, every possible meaning behind "next one's gonna be a good one." What Chad intended as a gentle check-in had become a headline, and with headlines came pressure. Those close to Chad say the past year wasn't about walking away from acting, it was about reclaiming control. For over a decade, his life ran on a relentless schedule: scripts, shoots, press, expectations. Success came early, stayed long, and quietly narrowed his freedom. When he finally stepped away, the silence wasn't emptiness, it was relief. But relief has a shelf life. Once the noise returns, it forces a choice. A few days after the post, Chad received a call he knew would eventually come. Not urgent, not emotional, professional. A familiar voice on the other end. "We've noticed the fan reaction," the voice said. "There's still a lot of interest." Chad listened without interrupting. Nothing was promised, nothing was asked, but the implication was clear. The door was still open. Years ago, Chad might have jumped at the opportunity or felt obligated to explain himself. This time, he didn't, because the power had shifted. He no longer needed the role to define him, and that made every future decision heavier, but freer. Those around him noticed the difference. "He's not running from anything," one insider said. "He's choosing." As speculation intensified, the fan base quietly divided into two camps. One side wanted him back, urgently, passionately, emotionally. They believed Michael Corinthos wasn't complete without him. The other side wanted Chad protected. They saw peace in his absence and feared the industry would pull him back too fast. Both sides agreed on one thing: whatever Chad does next should be his decision alone. And that's rare in television. When Chad's interview teaser resurfaced, fans noticed something unexpected. He didn't speak like someone waiting for his next job. He spoke like someone reflecting on a chapter already closed. He talked about early fame, about outgrowing versions of yourself, about how staying too long can sometimes prevent growth. The tone wasn't bitter, it was thoughtful. And suddenly, the story wasn't, "Will he return?" It became, "What does Chad Duell want now?" Away from cameras and comments, Chad had conversations that mattered more, with family, with close friends, with people who knew him before General Hospital. They didn't ask about contracts, they asked about happiness. One question lingered longer than the rest. If you go back, is it because you want to or because everyone expects you to? Chad didn't answer right away. Just when fans assumed the next update would involve General Hospital, a quiet shift occurred. A casting notice surfaced, unrelated to daytime television, a limited project, a very different role, short-term commitment, nothing flashy, nothing confirmed, but enough to stir curiosity. Those close to Chad say this option excited him in a way he hadn't felt in years, not because it was bigger, because it was new. Chad didn't rush to clarify, didn't deny rumors, didn't tease announcements, and that silence, it was intentional. He had learned something powerful over the past year. You don't owe the world every answer. Sometimes you let the story come to you. Recent comments under his posts shifted in tone, less demanding, more supportive. Fans began saying things like, "Take your time. Whatever you choose, we'll watch." Happy looks good on you. And that might have mattered more than any rating or contract. Late one evening, Chad posted a story. No caption, no explanation, just a sunset. Quiet, still. Within minutes, fans reacted, not with panic, not with pressure, with patience. And somewhere between the silence and the speculation, one thing became clear. This isn't a comeback story, it's a reinvention. And whatever Chad Duell does next, it won't be on anyone's timeline.